on my YouTube channel. And just a couple weeks ago, somebody commented on the live recording of this lecture from A term. And I will paraphrase. The person who commented said, I can't believe this guy calls himself a professor. Don't listen to anything he says if you're going to start a machine shop.
Wow.
And because YouTube tells me when people comment, I immediately wrote back to him. I said, hey, thanks for your insightful feedback. That wasn't my point. But you're right. And that was an off day for me. If you guys have any off days this term, A term? You ever feel like,
Oh, yeah.
like if I had tried to do the tire thing and give a lecture yesterday, yesterday's lecture would have sucked, and it would have been the same lecture that sucked at A term. I thought about just sending you to the YouTube video from A term instead of like shifting the lectures back. But well, we've already demonstrated that the A term lecture sucked. So I didn't want to put you through that, especially because you would have seen the YouTube comment from the guy. So he's right and he's wrong, I think. And maybe I could get a dialogue going with him and we could both learn more. But I'll let you guys judge at the end of today whether I know anything about the topic. What is the topic for today's lecture? Somebody's going to go back to the A-term on YouTube and find out. Anybody remember? It's supposed to be yesterday's lecture.
Starting like a manufacturing company for the.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about. But I think I called it in the syllabus. I think it called it something like
cost and value and high
value. So cost and value is like economics, right? So
on Canvas, it says cost and value of high manufacturing machining.
High
volume,
right? And we talked about high volume, high mix manufacturing at the very beginning of the term. And I said in high mix manufacturing, we're expecting to change which part we're making all the time. And in high volume manufacturing, we're expecting to make the same parts all the time. And so it's weird kind of to say that we're going to be doing high volume manufacturing when I'm also going to be talking about creating a startup company from scratch and the costs associated with doing that. But it really is the same thing if all you're going to do is make one thing, right? So if we were going to make the thermoacoustic engines for M1800, how many parts are there? Anybody want to guess?
10.
7.
A Y block. We've got the
7 or
Y
8.
block, right? There's a base. We sent the base in the kit with you. Y block base cylinder. Piston.
O-rings.
So Y block base cylinder piston, those are the parts that we machine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so then there's some fasteners.
Oh, and then that like
There's
wick
O-rings.
burner.
Oh, that's right. We added the burner this term. And the top for the burner. Right. We actually added machine parts this term. We never made these before. Fasteners, O-rings, test tube. And so if I was going to ship this to you, say I was going to ship it to you as a kit that you would assemble, what else would I have to have in the box? What else would I have to have? I'd have to have a box, right? Have some packaging material. Fasteners, O-ring, test tube, the steel wool. And to go with the fasteners, I'll probably give you an Allen key. Oh, there's feet. Do little rubber feet to keep it from. Little rubber feet to have something to put in the little holes that we put in the bottom of the base, so that we can teach you about pocketing operations that are blind pocketing operations. Because I don't think the feet have a real functional purpose. They don't actually keep it from vibrating across the table when it's operating, and that would be the reason to have those feet. All right, so if we're going to create a company to sell these to consumers, why would we do that? So the most important thing, if we're going to start a company to machine these things, package these things, put it all together, and ship them to consumers, the most important thing that we should have before we start.
Money.
You don't need no money. Maybe
Customers.
Demand.
we need to believe that there is demand. We need to believe there's customers, right? How do we know there's customers? They paid us for the stuff. We know there's customers only after they've paid us for the stuff. Okay, so this is the stuff. If we're going to set up a manufacturing facility to make this stuff, package these things up, and ship them to customers, even if we're not going to make a lot of them because we're not going to have a lot of customers, it still follows the model of a high volume manufacturing process. So let's think about what's the cost that goes into doing this. So let's think about what's the cost that goes into doing this. And there'll be some overlap with the costs that went into doing our high mix manufacturing.
Materials.
So we got a material cost for the stock material.
Machine costs.
So there's a cost to own the machines.
Rent.
The cost for the facility. And in the facility, let's just say rent.
Overhead.
Insurance.
Labor costs.
So rent, utilities, insurance, cable. So you say labor. Yes, because we haven't covered that yet. Labor. Look at that, a phone call. Hi, Gloria, and I answered on my watch. I'm doing lecture right now on Zoom. Anything important? Yeah. I'm asking you. Wow. It would have been so much cooler if I could have answered my shoe there.
But you're watching your shoe.
How many people actually got the shoe reference?
Nope.
Back to the Future.
Nope.
James Bond.
Or James.
No way.
James Bond was the closest one yet.
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
Professor Gadget.
There's some Austin Powers quotes that I won't do live on YouTube. Except for laser. Maxwell Smart from the 60s TV series Get Smart. He was a spy and he had a phone in his shoe. All right, sorry. Labor. Now, these are the same kind of things that we thought about when we were looking at the costs in high mix manufacturing, right? What's unique about high mix manufacturing that's different here?
Highmix, you're
What's
doing
the
a-
labor? What goes into labor?
Paying
Minimum-
someone to work the machine.
So we're gonna make Y block base, cylinder, piston, burner top. We're gonna package these things. We're gonna ship them to our customers. Who do we need to hire?
People.
Machinists.
Oh yeah, or androids.
Yeah. that
We're
works.
equal opportunity employers.
Right.
I want to be called racist for not hiring androids. Sorry. So what are the job roles that we got to have people do?
Someone to work the
Packing.
machine.
Try again. I just couldn't hear you.
Oh, I think a lot of us said shipping.
So, all right. That is the second most important thing that we're going to do. What's the most important thing we're going to do?
Machinist.
Machinist.
Most important thing we're going to do is invoicing. Because what pays for all of this stuff, right? People paying us. So we're going to do invoicing. We're going to do it right after shipping. So we're working backwards through this. What are we going to do before shipping?
Are we doing it in a parts inspection, like a certificate of inspection?
We might put certificates in the box, but I doubt we're going to be doing inspection.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we'll be doing inspection. We'll be doing in-process inspection to make sure we don't make bad parts. I don't think anybody's going to pay for a certified Sterling engine kit more than they would pay for a Sterling engine kit. So before we do the shipping and invoicing, we got to do the packaging. Right? We've got to do sales, marketing. So we're going to do sales and marketing. We're going to do shipping, invoicing, packaging. Which somebody said machining, right? What else?
Design.
So we've got design up here. We've got design.
Maintenance.
How often do we have to do design?
Once, because we're only making one thing.
Right, unless we break something or we do engineering. When I was when I was a junior at WPI, I did a co-op at a nuclear power plant. I was a mechanical engineer at a nuclear power plant for a year. What do mechanical engineers do at nuclear power plants?
Make the parts to fix things.
First, they wait for stuff to break. Then once stuff breaks, they very quickly design and certify the parts that then somebody else makes, they then get installed to fix things. But yeah, right. So at the beginning, when we have the idea, we've got to do design. We've got to figure it out. We will probably hire a job shop to do our prototyping for us and to help us figure out, because we have our belief that people want to buy these. It would have been nice to have gotten 50 or 100 of them made by a job shop, and we've sold 50 or 100 before we really decide that people want to buy these. But yeah, we had to do design, we had to do engineering, and we had to do that before we made the first part. But once we're making parts, we're going to do shipping, invoicing, packaging, sales and marketing, machining, anything else.
Does management count?
We're going to do maintenance. What else do we got to do?
Maintenance.
I wrote maintenance. It's at the bottom.
Oh.
Accounting.
Accounting. Are there other So I put accounting next to invoicing because I'm hoping that somebody in the accounting department is doing our invoicing, right? So we've got to do this stuff so we've got to do this office-y stuff, right? So our invoicing, accounting, our sales and marketing, our management. We do this kind of stuff. We're going to do our operations-y kind of stuff, our machining, our maintenance, our packaging, our shipping. Is there anything else we got to do?
Well, as far as a job role is concerned, were you going to add some specific people for quality assurance, or is that just going?
All right, so we got it right. We didn't add QC on our list. So does QC? I wish I had more than one color marker that worked. So the stuff that's not circled is operationsy. I think QC is operationsy stuff, right? It'd be QC. So we've got some quality control role, shipping. The quality control could be happening right at shipping. Don't put any bad parts in the box, right? If we're doing in-process quality management, then we're checking parts as they come off the machine tools. But, all right, so that's operations kind of stuff. If maintenance includes cleaning, and so by cleaning, I mean things like cleaning the floors, cleaning the toilets, cleaning the break room, cleaning the refrigerator, cleaning the parking lot, right? So that's all sort of maintenance kind of stuff, and maintenance may be separate from operations, probably rolled under operations. So we got to do these things. How many people? We're creating a startup. We believe people are going to buy these. These are the jobs that we know we have to do in order to get these to the people we believe are going to buy them.
5 to 10. Like, how far along are we in the startup phase of like?
Oh no, we haven't started yet.
Oh, okay, so like five being really generous.
3.
The people in the group.
Hey, I would go with the people in the group to start with. I like that idea.
Oh yeah.
What do we call the people in the group?
The founders.
I would call them How much do co-founders get paid at the beginning?
Nothing.
Nothing. Is that really true?
Yes.
Well, I mean, they get paid to like live, or insofar as they can continue existing and working, but they probably don't take a significant salary at the start.
Usually. So the idea here is your group of 3, I don't know if there's any groups that ended up with less than 3 by the end of this, but your group of 3 people have decided to be co-founders for a company that's going to make this. These are the roles that you're going to have to do. You're going to have expenses in order to do this. Where does the money come from?
Investors.
I got to vote for investors. Where else could the
Out of
money?
your own pocket.
So the money could come from your pocket. You could be in that case, you are the investor. Where else could the money come from?
Alone.
Loans.
All right, so we've got investors. Erase this side over here. We've got, so the money that it takes to start is capital. It could come from investors. It could come from debt. Is there any other place that it comes from?
You could try to get a grant.
All right, so grants. I like that. I have a personal bias. Every time I've done work with a company that was funded primarily with grants, the people I was working with, their primary objective was getting the next grant funded, not delivering product to customers. I personally don't like to work with grant funded companies. With that said, grant funded companies paid for most of my doctoral research, so I can't complain too much about them. But in the end, I remember one of them, I was the only person involved in the project that was not an owner of the company, and it was a grant funded company. And when the funding ran out and we were waiting to hear back if the next grant was going to be funded, I was the only person willing to invest my own time and money in continuing to work on the product. But anyway, but you can get grants, and it's certain, especially for small businesses, it's a great way to get cash to get started. Okay, so we've got investors, and these investors are often friends and family. Or the three F's, the fools, the friends, and the family. When you use your own money, you're the fool. And then you get your friends and your family's money too. I guess they're also fools because they gave you the money. Right, so we've got investors, we've got debt, we've got grants. When we go to talk to the investors or the lenders or the government organization that's going to issue the grant, what do we got to give them?
A business plan.
We need a business plan. So these are the tasks that we know we have to do. We believe the customers want these things, and we have to come up with a business plan. So what do you think the key elements of a business plan would be?
Cost. Like what type of business are you? So it's like if your model of business, so are you a third party like Costco?
So if I'm the investor, what's the first thing I want to know? Who's watched Shark Tank?
Am I going to get my money back?
Right. So how much? When do I get it back? If you are personally going to invest your own money in your own startup, isn't this what you want to know? It's certainly what you want to know if you're going to give somebody else the money to invest in their company. How much is it going to cost? When do I get the money back? Okay. So does the bank already know when they want the money back before they give you the loan?
Yes.
It's built into the terms of the loan, right? Do you think the investor already knows when they want the money back before they give you the money?
Yes.
All right. What do you think is a reasonable time to promise to give the money back?
Doesn't it usually take like 6 quarters for a business to like really pick up revenue?
So there's rules of thumb. So 6 quarters is that like a year and a half?
Year and a half.
Yeah, I think that's pretty quick. Depends on the business. Depends on how much capital is involved. So often would you think starting a company to make Stirling engines would be a capital intensive venture?
No, maybe.
I guess it depends on your scale, right?
Capital intensive is a relative term because machine
It totally
tools
depends
can
on
be
your scale,
expensive. Machine
right?
tools can
If
be
you're
expensive.
Elon Musk, it's like parking your car.
On Mars.
on Mars or blowing up the third rocket. Sorry. I have many friends and former students, and yeah, it's okay. Rockets blow up. Just don't be sitting on them when they blow up. So it really depends on your scale, right? But for you guys, it's probably a lot of capital. So what you got to know is how much money do you need? And so to know how much money you need, you're going to need to know what machine tools do you need, right? To make these parts.
Yeah, so a Haas mini mill.
So I'll leave this up to the group to decide what machine tools you use. I recommend choosing Haas machines for the practical purpose of you can go to their webpage, you can type in the configuration of the machine you want, and it will tell you the cost of buying the machine without having to ask for a quote. If you go to their website and you say, I want a quote, and you type in your email address, there will be a salesperson trying to sell you that machine. Don't do that, because I know all the sales guys that work in this region, and they don't need to have false quote things coming to their desk. Just go to the pricing thing on the website. It'll tell you the cost of the machine. So you can figure out what will it cost to start production. And what it'll cost to start production. Let's make this simple, right? We can't cover everything. It'll cost getting a facility, getting machine tools, and the facility, when we had the initial list over here, we said that that was going to include rent and utilities and insurance and all those costs, right?
Yes.
I've done this different ways, different terms.
What's
So
the location gonna be?
decide where you want to locate your company. And then I could have you go look at the real estate listings in that area. And I could have you determine how much rent will cost in that area. I don't think that adds a lot of value right now to this. So I'm gonna skip that. But let's say, what do you think a facility costs? Let's talk about it for a minute. What time we got? Okay, good time. Let's talk about that for a minute. What do you guys think a facility costs? Let's say in Worcester.
Doesn't it depend on the size?
Say again?
Doesn't it depend on how big of a facility you
So
want?
it's going to depend on the size. And what we typically do with commercial real estate is we talk about the cost per square foot per year. And so let's say, for example, you wanted 10,000 square feet, which is way more than you need to start this, but it makes the math easier. So 10,000 square feet at $12 per foot per year. How much is the monthly rent?
$10,000.
That's
80 grand?
So it's $12 per foot per year, 10,000 square feet is $10,000 a month. And I think you could get 10,000 square feet within 2 miles of WPI for $12 a foot right now. In fact, I know the guy that's got it for rent. So what if you wanted cheaper rent?
You go smaller?
Well, so you go smaller.
Wow.
I just used the 10,000 square feet because it made the math easy.
Choose a different location.
So you choose a different location. What do you lose if you choose a different location?
Or
You'd have to
You
relocate.
lose the ability to walk there from here, right? But let's say you find a nice spot for $6 a foot. And so here's a hard question. How many square feet do you need? And you can't know the answer to that question unless you've decided how many of these you're going to ship every day. Does that make sense? Because the number of these you're going to ship every day is going to then determine the number of machine tools you need to make them and the space you need to have to put the boxes together, right? But if it's 3 people, how many machines can 3 people run at the same time?
3.
Any other guesses?
Safely run or just to run?
We're running production parts. What does it actually take to run the machine tool to do a production part? Once it's set up, once you know how to make the part,
Just have to hit go.
you put the part in the fixture, you tighten the fixture, you close the door, you press start. Then what do? In lab, we watch, right? Because it's pretty cool.
I mean, if it explodes, it explodes. So you might as well go do something else.
In fact, sometimes it's better to be standing far away when it explodes. So I've done it before where I took an old cell phone, I mounted it on a tripod, I pointed it at the machine, and I had the cell phone pretend to be a webcam. And then every couple of hours, I would log in with my cell phone to make sure the machine hadn't crashed. Now, if it had crashed, I was going to have a problem. But if it hadn't crashed, I just needed to know when to go back to change parts, right? So in a controlled process where you know that you can make the parts, it's not that hard for the operator to put the part in the fixture, close the fixture, press cycle start, walk away, and go do some other job. So 3 people can keep probably up to, I don't know, I've one time seen 15 spindles operating with 3 people doing it. I think that's pretty excessive. But 3 people can certainly run 5 or 6 machine tools at once. And so in one of those 3 people might be in the office making phone calls, making sure deliveries happened, right? So I think, I don't know, you need to have at least a mill and a lathe, right?
Correct.
Yes.
To make these parts, you need to have at least a mill and a lathe. You'll need to have a place to put boxes. You'll need to have a place to store stock material. So I think you can do it in 2,000 square feet. And 2,000 square feet, I think you can find a nice space not too far away from here for $7 a foot. Okay. Oh, but they want a 5-year lease. And they're going to talk about the fact every year the rent's going to go up a little bit and all that stuff. But you're not worried about that because you're excited. You got a startup, right? So what do you think the utilities are going to cost? Just so we can get a rough number for facility before we go.
200.
Or what goes into the utilities?
Or
Is on
power.
internet?
Yeah.
Do we
There's
include
200
internet?
a month right there, internet.
Oh, shoot.
It's the
Electricity,
same thing if you
water?
have an apartment. It's the same thing that you get for $60 if it's not a business. But if you're a business, it's going to be $200 a month. You can maybe negotiate.
Electricity.
So electricity, internet, heat, water and sewer, maybe, depending on if that's included in your, let's say that's rolled into the lease. Insurance, you gotta have fire insurance in case your machine tool catches on fire and burns the building down. You need to have insurance that pays the building owner for the building. You may want to have insurance that pays for your machine too, but the building owner doesn't care about that. They want to get paid for the building though if your machine catches on fire and burns the building down. Let's call it, I don't know, nice round number. Let's call it another $500 a month. That's probably low, but we're young entrepreneurs and we're optimistic. So that's probably low. So we've got a 5-year lease, $500 a month. Now, after you move out of the facility, if you've broken your lease, you still owe all the money for the lease, but you probably can turn off the electricity and stuff. So maybe that's just this $500 a month is just until you fail. Oh wait, did I say you were going to fail? Never mind, you're not going to fail. It's going to work for you guys. You've got a lease, you've got a facility. Who's going to do the facility maintenance? Who's going to clean the toilets?
Well, I mean, it's just us, so us.
Yeah, you guys are going to clean the toilets. And you guys are going to mop the floor. Unless you think you can make enough money to pay somebody. But it's a startup, so you guys are going to do all that stuff at the beginning. All right, so I think our facility is pretty well nailed down. I want you to pick the machine tools that you want. I want you to pick the cutting tools that you need. How do you know what cutting tools you need?
From the file, like the
Figure that out from your Spree file,
yeah.
right? These are aluminum and brass parts for the most part. Let's say that for every year, you'll need 3 of each tool. The number is probably higher than that, but I'm just going to make up a number so that we can be consistent in this part of the project. But I want you guys to figure out what tools you need from your Spree files. And say you want 3 each. Where can you find out the cost of the machine tools?
Haas.
The Haas website.
Get this from the Haas website. Where can you find out the cost of the cutting tools?
Kennametal.
You probably can't find out the cost from Kennametal unless you create an account.
Oh, Haas.
No, but if you go to MSC Direct, you can get a really reasonable estimate of the cost of the cutting tools. Each
So
cutting
we
tool
should just get a list of all the tools.
Say again?
So like we should go back through the CAM assignments and see what tools and just find the prices for those.
Yeah, there's only like 5 tools.
Right. Yeah. It's not that.
10. But yeah.
But Professor,
Yeah.
apologize if I'm mistaken, but did we ever get a file for the lathe operations?
I don't think we ever did.
You didn't. Yeah, because we changed the CAM this term. And so in other terms, you would have gotten that. I'll give you guys those files, or I'll give you the tool list. Both. So you can look at that. All right. So you need tool holders for all the tools, right?
Yes.
So the tool holders that we use at M1800 range in cost from about $90 to about $600. just for a budget price, just assume your tool holders are 150 each.
Is that 150 per machine tool?
No, 150 per tool holder. So if you've got 5 tools in the machine tool for an operation, you need 5 times 150 before you can start the machine, plus the cost of the tools.
Is there the same those don't
wear out.
question? Okay, there we go.
Well, here at WPI they wear out because we crash them into stuff. But presumably once you get your production run going, they won't wear out. All right, so you can get machine tools from Haas CNC. You get tool holders, 150 each, depending on. So if you decide that you're going to run 2 milling machines in one lathe, then get 2 sets of tool holders for the milling machine and 1 set of tool holders for the lathe.
Do you want, which website do you want us to use to estimate our stock prices for the stock
So
material?
that's the uncertainty, right? At this point is the stock material per part. So all of this will tell you how much capital you need before you can make the first part. Is that true?
Almost.
What's missing?
Because you need to know how much of the stock you need for a part.
We're going to break that out separate.
Okay. So if we're ignoring the cost of the material, then yes.
So before you can put the first piece of stock material in the machine, you need to have all of this in place. Does that make sense?
Does coolant cost any money?
Yeah, the coolant costs money. You know what? Assume that Haas is going to give you a coolant certificate with your purchase of your machine tools, and the first 3 years of coolant's going to be free.
Awesome.
For 5 years. So coolant costs money. What else? What do we miss here that is going to be important before you ship the parts? I see one thing that's flagrantly missing here that people don't consider at the beginning.
Postage?
Nah, that'll be a per part thing. That'll happen per part. But before you can even make a part, you need to have metrology. So you're going to need to buy things like calipers and micrometers and things like that to make sure that you're making your parts in tolerance before you can put them in the box to ship them to the customers. If all you're going to make is this Sterling engine, I think you probably only need about $5,000 worth of metrology equipment.
Did you just say only $5,000 worth?
Yeah. I think if all you're going to make is this part, I think you'd have a hard time spending more than $5,000 on metrology equipment. Well, because you want to have more than one of certain things if you're checking machines and stuff like that, right?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Plus, things break, so.
Yeah. I mean, a typical small machine shop will have well over $100,000 worth of metrology equipment that you don't see it because it's in a drawer. But I think if just making these Sterling engines, I think you do it. I mean, you could get away with it for less than that, right? But I think $5K budget price. So I want you to pick the machines, get pricing for the machines. I want you to figure out the cost of the tooling and the tool holders and decide how to set it up. All right, now once we've set up our facility, we know how much money we need to start. So when you get your capital investment, when you go to your investor or your bank or your pocket, how much money should you ask for? Just the bare minimum?
No, you want to have some buffer room.
So you need a month's worth? You need 5 years worth? You have to sign a 5-year lease.
Isn't like 3 to 6 months a good buffer?
3 to 6 months. Some countries have laws. You can't actually start a company unless you can show that you have like 3 years worth of money in the bank to pay your employees. The US doesn't have laws like that, so don't worry. It's very cheap to fail in the US. How do you get out of your lease?
A lawyer?
You just tell the guy, hey, don't want the lease anymore.
So just tell the guy, hey, I don't want the lease anymore, usually results in a lawyer. And it may result in proving that you don't have any money to pay the lease by going bankrupt and talking to a bankruptcy attorney.
Can
What
you
happens?
sublet it?
What happens if you go bankrupt in your company in the US?
I mean, nothing, but like.
If you do it like 5 or 6 times, you can get elected president. Right? So the cost of failure is very low. And hey, that bank shouldn't have given you that loan if they didn't think you were going to succeed. So it actually puts a big onus on the investors and the banks and things like that to believe that your company is going to succeed before they give you the money. But we'll go past that. But what I'd like you to do is figure out how much it's going to cost to operate for the 5 years and how you are going to get the money back to your investors over that 5-year period. So you're going to pay back the bank or your investors over a 5-year period. What's the critical piece of information that's missing?
Interest.
Pick a number.
Awesome. So 0
What do you
interest.
think? All right, so for debt investors, so the bank is like a debt investor. Let's call it, all right, let's say it's SBA approved, so it's backed by the federal government. If you go bankrupt, the federal government's going to pay the bank the money that you borrowed, an SBA loan. Let's say they're giving you 5% APR for 5 years. For capital investors, they're going to want their money back in 5 years. You don't have to pay them interest because they still own a share of your company and they're going to get a share of the profits every year after the 5 years that they got their money back. So you can decide if you want capital investors or debt investors. I'll let you do that. What's the critical piece of information we're missing?
The cost of the thing you're selling, like how much you're charging for it.
Right. Sales price.
Hey Toby, just so you know, you're 5 minutes till noon.
Sales price, and then cost. For cost of making the part, you've got all this stuff. We'll pick up here tomorrow. By tomorrow, find 5 kit-like things that consumers buy online and figure out what other people charge for them. And we'll come up with the sales price. We'll pick up here tomorrow, and then we're good to go.
Professor, are we going to be having a quiz at the end of the week, or?
Yeah, do you guys want a quiz at the end of the week?
Not particularly.
I'd rather not have a quiz.
Is there anybody that wants to speak up that really wants a quiz? It's like crickets. I don't really want a quiz either. But what are we going to do about the spot on the syllabus that says there was a quiz?
You could give us hundreds.
I could.
Yeah.
It's something you could do.
They could always do an extra credit assignment for their Esprit, like previous.
Yeah. So the the risk of reducing the number of quizzes is it increases the weight of each individual quiz. I don't think that's a problem because most people did pretty well on the quizzes that have already been. I also agree that we could give the opportunity for an extra credit assignment to offset the increased weighting of the existing quizzes. But my guess is the only people that aren't doing well on the existing quizzes are the people that didn't bother to do them at all. And those people probably also won't do the extra credit assignment. So let's not do the quiz, but if you feel that you get gypped on your grade because we didn't do the quiz, and you want to do an extra credit assignment to overcome the fact that you got gypped because the other quizzes were weighted too high, then propose to me what you want to do for your extra credit.
Can we make the quiz an assignment and then make that an extra credit assignment?
Did I still have to make the quiz? But
Maybe.
it's extra credit?
Correct.
Yeah.
I could do that. All right, I'll do that. That's a compromise. It'll be a non-required quiz. It will count for you, but not against you. So points that you earn on the, I'll have to figure out how to do the math.
You guys can always email your PLAs and we'd be more than happy to give you guys ideas, or we even have previous CAM files without any of the toolpaths and whatnot, and you can use that file to start with. We've done that in the past too. Are you okay with that, Toby?
If somebody wants to do an extra credit assignment and they make a good proposal to me that they need extra credit and that it's a good assignment, I will grade it.
Cool, because we have like the chess pieces and stuff like that.
And I will do an optional quiz to replace the quiz that we would have had that was mandatory. And that way people that want to take a quiz can take it without having to had spoken up today and be like the black sheep that wanted a quiz. Because I could see that some people don't want to speak up and say, oh, give me a quiz, give me a quiz. But that they actually wanted it. And wait, you can still hand in the quizzes that were already due. And you can still redo your CAM if you got points taken off the CAM and James told you, please fix this and hand it back in. Even if he didn't tell you, please fix this and hand it back in, you can still hand it in again if you want to fix something. So make sure that you do that, and you can talk to the PLAs, and you can talk to James, or you can talk to me if you're having trouble figuring out how to fix the thing that you need to fix in the CAM. I don't believe they will fire me if everybody gets an A, as long as I can justify that people did the work and they deserve an A.
I'm certain you already said this, but I probably missed it. When do we get the roughness and power lab grade?
I'm shooting for the end of the day today.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
And I'm not sure if I did say it, but that was what I was thinking. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go then. We will pick up here tomorrow and then go into whatever tomorrow's scheduled topic was, or today's scheduled topic was.
I have a quick question about the most recent quiz, actually. I
Yes.
had trouble finding like any like equations to use for the, what is it, like the friction, like the cutting angle friction and those couple of problems, last couple of problems.
Yeah, give me a second here to turn on screen share. If I can find Zoom. There's Zoom. There's screen share. There's the screen I want to share. If you go to week 3, I think, equations in ME 1800.
All right, awesome, thank you.
And all of those equations are in here. Or if you know F equals MA, you should be able to derive all those.
Yeah.
But it may take you 50 years like it took the researchers. So I would skip that and just go to the equations. I think these are the friction force ones you were looking for right here.
All right, thank you.
All right. I'm going to go then. And I hope this didn't suck as bad as A term did. No comments. I guess you'll have to go watch the A term video and decide.